What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I've been meaning to do another video. As you can see, I am still getting unpacked, so it's been a hectic time. So I haven't again had that regular upload schedule, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to come on and talk about the crazy news that I'm sure a lot of people have heard today, or I guess yesterday by the time this video is coming out, about cEDH and the potential ban list coming from Topdeck. .gg for their tournament circuit, which we'll talk about. So we're going to go through all of that. And again, I know some people are aware, some people might not be fully up to date. I just want to, reaffirm that this is all speculation, all tentative, and, perfectly able to change in the future. So please be nice to people and me. Again, I'm just kind of relaying information, giving my thoughts, and we'll go from there. So. All right, so I got wind of this from some friends, and then I got the official sources. So this all is incoming from various sources. So again, apologies if I get anything wrong or if there's new information that comes out either today or in the time between this video comes out or again in the future. So again, this is all tentative. So also make sure to like, comment, subscribe so you can stay up to date. I will definitely update update this video or release a new one again if things change. But yeah, this coming from Mikey JH, and basically saying that people are discussing implementing a ban list for tournament play. Again, this is specifically people who work in the Topdeck.gg space. If you're not familiar, Topdeck.gg is just a cEDH or a tournament provider, and they do tournaments for cEDH as well as other formats. This is their circuit that they are planning on doing this for. And so basically, just they talk about wanting to do these changes to kind of improve tournament dynamic, right? Both in how the actual games play out and probably, again, I'm just thinking theoretically here for that, and also for, again, people's interest in playing the tournaments, if the meta is stale, if you don't particularly like the state of cEDH or EDH or whatever, maybe you're less likely to enter into a tournament. And again, I'm not saying whether I agree with that or not. Again, just kind of giving some potential explanations for why a ban list may or may not be a good idea. And then they give some initial thoughts for a ban list. And now, when I say ban list, it is kind of funny because only one card has been banned, and they actually unbanned 6 cards. And maybe that is enough to kind of make things interesting, which we'll discuss. So yeah, initially, again, a lot of people very concerned by this, even though, again, as me being one of the people that kind of in my discussions with people was in favor of a different ban list for cEDH than normal EDH. Again, there's two very conflicting sides here. Again, I'm kind of more towards, there's a spectrum. Again, there is a spectrum here. I am more towards being in favor of a different ban list, but not in this context, which I'll kind of talk about. So whereas other people disagree on that because it goes against the spirit of cEDH, in that cEDH is quite literally just EDH turned all the way up, to 10, 11, whatever you want, turning, kind of maxing out what you can do in the EDH format. So not wanting a different ban list, then you can see literally all the how popular this tweet is getting. It's literally changing as I'm watching it. So yeah, listen, again, I'm not, going to comment on, or not going to try to go too deep onto why I think, a ban list could be good. Or why, I guess I should say a different ban list could be good. But in this case, it's really interesting that they chose to unban a bunch of things, because theoretically, these cards are more appropriate in a higher powered play group right? I think a lot of these cards were banned because at the casual level they felt way too powerful and were doing kind of too busted things. Whereas at the cEDH level, there's a lot of busted things that are going on, and so these things, by comparison, feel a lot more, kind of low to the ground. Low to the ground, tame. Is all I'm trying to say here. So yeah, again, and to kind of again further go into this, this is only for top deck GG tournaments, and so that's kind of my issue. Is not only is this not really a ban list, it's an unbanned list. It's like basically just a kind of disregarding the EDH ban list, and just kind of making its own. Whereas this is really only for top deck tournaments, and is not really an effective tool for the entirety of cEDH. So I kind of don't like, that's my main issue with this particular method, is that it's not really being implemented on a larger scale by the community. I don't know, like if the community, again, the community really as a whole can't do this, which is why I would be more in favor of, again, the Commander Rules Committee, which has people who are, from cEDH or have engaged with cEDH. And I would be more okay with the Commander Rules Committee, or maybe, again, making a different committee or whatever, right, that kind of talks or litigates cEDH as a whole. I again, my play group here and kind of the general area here has no plans to implement this, even if this is actually implemented. Again, so far, again, that may change if this is implemented and this becomes like the industry standard. Again, we don't really know what's going to happen here, but I don't really like this method of kind of top deck GG trying to insert a ban list into cEDH by just themselves forcing it. So that's my main issue. Again, I've been of the opinion that the Commander Rules Committee, again, not that they're saying that they should make bans for cEDH, because there's a lot of cards that are busted in cEDH, but are more appropriate at a more casual table. Ristic Study, for example, which we'll talk about. That's one thing, but like I think I would be more okay if there was a separate ban list that was adjudicated by, again, the entirety of cEDH as a community, instead of Top Deck just kind of saying, in our tournaments, you can't run these cards. Because again, then we get into kind of the craziness of, these cards aren't playable at this tournament setting, but then at your locals, there's a different one. And then maybe, again, God forbid, if there's a different tournament, kind of company like topdeck.gg doing their own, again, ban list, then it gets a little bit too crazy. I'm not sure if that would happen. Again, this is all hypothetical, but that is kind of my nightmare scenario. And I really would prefer that not to be a thing. So in any case, those are my thoughts. We're going to go over the actual cards and kind of talk about why they might be banning these versus not. I'll kind of talk about some cards that I would like to be on the ban list, or kind of things. But yeah, again, just to wrap up my thoughts, again, I would not be doing any unbannings, because again, I think that cards that were banned in this setting, again, are either against the spirit of the format, or just, a little bit too absurd or redundant. And I think they're there for a reason. Again, Coalition Victory might be the exception, but I'm like, why are we bothering with this? But yeah, I would go more towards, there are cards that are okay at the casual level that become absurd at the cEDH level. So I'll just go give a couple examples. Again, Ristic is on that list, so I'm okay with that. Mystic Remora, Dockside Extortionist, and then also things like, what is the card? Perplexing Chimera, which, again, my play group and some of my friends will have a notorious reputation for being an absurd card to try and adjudicate at the casual, at the cEDH level. We talked with a judge at a cEDH tournament and asked them, actually, what would be your ban list for cEDH, and Perplexing Chimera was on that list. Not for competitive reasons, for like complexity reasons almost. So anyways, I'm going to leave my thoughts there, and now let's talk about the actual bans slash unbans that Mikey here is suggesting. Again, this is not final, and it's not definitive. So let's take a look. All right, so the one card that was is being passed around as a banned card for Topdeck.gg tournaments is Ristic Study. If you play cEDH, you should know this card. I shouldn't have to explain why this card's good. If you play at the casual level, you might actually not be aware of this card. I have quite a few people who come from casual into cEDH, and I play a Ristic Study, and they ask to read the card because they have absolutely no idea what this card does and why it's good. So Ristic Study, obviously a very, very powerful card draw engine. Really easy to just put on the board, and it should theoretically draw you a bunch of cards. Again, the jokes of do you pay the one, right? Those they aren't overblown. This card is insanely obnoxious if it comes down early in a game, and even late in the game, it can still be really good. But yeah, a turn 1 or a turn 2 Ristic Study immediately makes you a threat in cEDH. Basically just drawing you so many cards, and even if they, the table decides to not play as many cards, they're not playing cards, and so you're kind of preventing them from playing the game. At the cEDH level, in the tournament experience, it's really, really tough because you're on a time limit, right? You're on usually a 50, 60, maybe 70 minute timer. Again, those times in the round do vary. But you have a limited amount of time, and so if you play a Ristic Study early in the game, the triggers and the resolution of those triggers takes up quite a bit of time. So in addition to it being a really, really powerful card, it also is a card that slows down the speed in which a game can come to completion. Both because, again, it's causing delays because of the triggers and the resolutions, but also because you just draw a bunch of cards, and a lot of those cards tend to be counter spells, and so you can just stop people from winning the game. Game continues, people cast more spells, you draw more cards, and the cycle just continues. Usually a turn 1 Ristic Study is a recipe for just winning the game super easily. You'll find that a lot of decks just don't want to not play blue because Ristic Study is just that good of a card. If you look at the EDH top 16, you'll find that a lot of the top decks just have blue in them. Crom, Silas, Sisei, Rogsai, Kinnan, Tivit, Najila, Nadu, Kenrith. All the decks I'm listing right now are blue decks. The exceptions being Magda, blue deck, Rakdos deck, blue deck, right? And so, that is the real reason why a card like this is just super absurd. Obviously, it's okay to have powerful cards in these colors, right? We know a lot of powerful cards like Force of Will, right, are just auto includes in games, or sorry, in decks, but not really a card like this that is just super absurd. So, this is one of the cards that my kind of play group and kind of the people in my circle would definitely be okay with getting rid of. It's just a super obnoxious card. When one person has it and nobody else does, it feels like that person is winning the game. It's a really, really toxic card, but again, not a card that is particularly powerful in the casual meta, right? If you play a Ristic Study in casual, you're likely to draw a couple of cards, but presumably you're not playing the fast mana, the insane combos, or anything like that would really let you take advantage of all the cards that you draw. Right? A lot of times, casual games end up just being, here's a big spell, one large impactful spell, and that's pretty much all you do on your turn, right? Again, I'm speaking from, my experience. Again, some decks are a little bit different, but it's way less powerful at the casual level. Again, not a lot of casual players really understand the power level of this card, which is, again, why I think that there should be a separate ban list for cEDH. As opposed to unbanning cards and bannings. I think you should just say, hey, this card in cEDH is way too powerful. They kind of talk about it in the tweet here in some of the replies, but one of the cards that's not on the list that does confuse me is Mystic Remora, which is almost like another version of Rhystic Study. It only triggers off of non-creature spells. You have to pay this cumulative upkeep, but it's a lot more punishing to try and pay for it. And it can come down a lot easier. All you need to play Mystic Remora on turn 1 is 1 land, and that's it. Yes, you have to keep paying into it, but presumably if you draw any of your fast mana, any of your acceleration, you should be able to continue to pay for it while still holding up mana to control the game. You know, this card is just as obnoxious to Rhystic Study, in my opinion. And if we're banning Rhystic Study, I don't really understand why Mystic Remora is allowed to do its thing. Yes, again, people can, just not play into the Mystic Remora and hold their fast mana. But again, if they're doing that, they're not playing the game. And so again, the effect that this card has on the game is, in my opinion, just as obnoxious as Mystic Remora, I should say. So then I want to get to talking about the other cards that are not on this list that are in the discussion, right, for cards that could be banned from cEDH, that I actually think are, I don't want to say fine, but are more, I guess, more appropriate for the power level. So Dockside Extortionist is an absolutely absurd card, and I certainly, again, don't enjoy playing against it, but I don't know if it necessarily meets the realm of getting banned. While Dockside Extortionist's effect on the format is quite daunting, pushing out a lot of things like artifact and enchantment decks, it does have quite a lot of moments where it's pretty bad. There's also plenty of tech cards that you can run against it. Dress Down, there's things that turn off ETBs, there's things that turn off artifacts. So I think there's enough stuff going on in the meta to like deal with Dockside. Again, there will be games where it's really, really powerful. But I think there's also a lot of games where I see it and it makes like, so I've had some games where it makes nothing, or like times where it makes like 1 or 2 treasures and it's really not that impressive of a card. Yes, there are the games I've seen where it makes like 12 mana and it just is absurd. But yeah, I think that's okay. I think it enables enough things, and it also kind of increases the power level of some lower power decks, right? Those lower power decks, you start to play a Dockside Extortionist and the deck gets a lot faster. And again, in my opinion, I like that, again, enabling things like Corvold and Kenrith to kind of have these cool combos with it. So I think it's enough where I'm okay with Dockside existing. I'm not saying I like the card. I hate the card. I would like it if the card was banned. Do I think that is actually necessary for the health of the format? I don't think so. I'm trying to be, honest here. Some other cards that I'm not going to pull up here. Thassa's Oracle, right? That card, again, is a really, really powerful win condition, but I'm not sure if it quite meets the threshold of needing to be banned in cEDH. But I could certainly be receptive to arguments for it. All right, now let's talk about the cards that actually got banned. Or would be banned, I guess, in this hypothetical ban. Unbanned list. Excuse me. Unbanned in this hypothetical ban list. And that is, the first one is Fast Bond. I know this card a lot from Vintage Cube. I'm really surprised that this card is able to come off. So 1 green for an enchantment. You can play any number of lands, but you take a damage for each extra land that you play. I think this is pretty absurd. This card is really, really powerful on turn 1. You just dump all your lands, and then you can play draw effects. Like, again, if you play this off of Rhystic Study, like you Adnaz or you Rhystic Study or any of these things that just Necropotence, you draw a bunch of cards. Fast Bond just helps you just turn all of those draws. If you draw lands, sometimes those draws are dead, whereas now Fast Bond just turns all of them on. I guess like Fast Bond off of Adnaz sometimes is not going to get you there because you just are on super low life, but maybe with Fast Bond and Adnaz, you don't have to go as deep because you don't need as much fast mana. That could be maybe something. Again, I don't really know the math on that or kind of what decks would play Fast Bond and what decks wouldn't. But this card is really powerful. It's also really good with draw 7s, Wheel of Fortune, Time Twister. Those cards have kind of been on the outs because of cards like Orcish Bowmaster. So maybe this is enough to bring those cards back into the meta. Right? you just, again, fast spawn, play a couple of lands, play a mana rock or two. You cast a draw 7, and you draw a whole bunch of more cards, and you play more lands, and you go off. So I think this card's cool. Do I like, again, someone who doesn't really play green, I'm not really looking forward to this. But I don't know if this card is really needed. Or like how much it improves. Again, I don't really understand the point of this unban, besides buffing card decks. Like, I don't understand how this adds to anything, I guess is my worry. Speaking of cards that are not really adding to anything, Leovold, Emissary of Trest is another card that I'm like, did we really need to unban this? Like, is this, I understand that it's like not that crazy, but how does this improve the format? So Leovold, Emissary of Trest, one of black, blue, and green. So Sultai. For a 3/3 legendary creature, Elf Advisor. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn, and whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So a super obnoxious card, just giving you a card every time they target one of your permanents, but mostly turning off the ability for your opponent to draw a bunch of cards. So again, it's odd. It's awkward that they play Leovold as a card that is, sorry, they unbanned Leovold, which is a card that would help against Rhystic Study. Yet they ban Rhystic Study. So I don't really understand, again, how unbanning Leovold helps. Again, I guess there are a lot of draw engines. There's a lot of Tymna decks in the meta right now. There's a lot of Thrasios going around. And so I guess, again, Leovold is a way to kind of keep those decks in check and prevent them from going too nuts. But again, also, I feel like Tymna decks would be playing Leovold, right? Like the not Blue Farm, but I guess like other decks, right? The like Sans red decks, like Tymna Thrasios would probably play some Leovold in them. So again, I don't really understand why. Like, again, I understand it is a not that busted up a card. I don't understand how this helps the format and helps people get more excited to play games of cEDH. Again, I'm not saying that I think this card is too busted in cEDH. I'm going off of their stated goals for tournament play. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't understand. I think this is a card that kind of locks down the game, makes the game unfun. And so again, I don't understand why this is the card that they choose to unban. This card I am genuinely excited for if this comes off the ban list. This is the card I plan on playing. So this is Gifts Ungiven, which is 3 and a blue for an instant. Search a library for up to 4 cards with different names, reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Those cards go into the graveyard. The other 2 go into your hand. And I guess I should say the rest go into your hand, because you theoretically could just put 2 cards that go right into your graveyard. So that's one way that this card has been used. It was a Gifts Ungiven into Unburial Rites to reanimate a creature. That's like a classic combo from back in the day. But Gifts Ungiven is a very notorious card for Storm decks, being able to use with Pass and Flames. We have ways of using it now with cards like Underworld Breach and Savine's Reclamation. So this is basically almost like a second copy of Intuition, and I love Intuition. So I'm pretty hyped for this card. I think, again, for people who know me from Vadric Astral Archmage, this is a card that would slot into that deck super easily, and I'd be hyped for that. Now, again, that being said, how does this help the format? Maybe this just makes these combo decks a little bit better. And so then, kind of people, might make it so that these card advantage engines that people are playing aren't as good, because they're faster decks using Gifts Ungiven to kind of turbo out those combos a little bit more consistently. Maybe. Again, I do think that if that leads to more games ending sooner, maybe that's better. Again, because the big issue right now in tournament cEDH is that games often go to a draw because of these drawn out games involving Rhystic Study and these other card advantage engines. And so if even if people are winning faster, right, meaning because they're comboing off, maybe that's better, so that games end more definitively, as opposed to Ristic Study slowing the game down and causing all these games to go to draws. This I am more okay with, right? Again, because I see that it's solving a problem in the current state of the game, or state of the cEDH space. Here's a card that I don't really know if it saw cEDH play beforehand. Again, I haven't been in the cEDH meta as much as other people. So maybe I'm not up to date, or I guess I don't, I haven't been brought into the fold on Primeval Titan in cEDH, but Primeval Titan is a really, obnoxious card. So it was a 4 green 6/6 trample, and enters or attacks. You search a library for 2 land cards, any land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped. So again, this was banned from the casual space, or for the casual purposes, because kind of all people do in casual is just cast, like find Primeval Titan, cast it, and just get a bunch of lands and just start casting big green cards. They kind of wanted to diversify, or kind of make people work a little bit more for these ramp, or these really powerful lands. Nykthos, Gaia's Cradle, all these obnoxious lands do really busted things, and casual players aren't really built to deal with lands or these repeatable effects. So I definitely get why it should be banned at the casual level. I don't really know what unlocking it in cEDH does. Again, there are cards like Gaia's Cradle that are really, really busted. But I don't know how we're getting Primeval Titan into play. I know like there are decks like Kinnan that work really well with it, but I don't know what decks are like, give me a Primeval Titan. So again, I apologize for not really knowing what Primeval Titan did in cEDH when it was legal, or if cEDH really even used this card. But I don't really know if we care about this. In which case, it's probably fine to unban. I just don't really like this card. Again, as you can tell, if it hasn't been abundantly clear, I am not a green player. So again, apologies for not being up to date on that. But speaking of green, we got Raphelos as well. Raphelos and again, Primeval Titan are ones that I understand that they were busted in casual, and I could certainly see them being okay in cEDH. So Raphelos, Lenore, Emissary, green for a 2/1 legendary elf, elf druid. And it has tap, add 1 green for each forest you control. So pretty powerful. Again, having this in your command zone, getting to play it on turn 2, or even turn 1. Again, in cEDH, we have a lot of ways of ramping this out on turn 1. And immediately just start tapping it for a bunch of mana. There's a lot of ways to kind of get a bunch of forests. Obviously, you're in mono green, so you're probably not playing a lot of non-forest, but also in other decks. We have the combo of Yavimaya with this. Yavimaya just turning all lands into forests in addition to their other types. So now you're kind of doubling your mana. Is that combo good enough? I don't know. But again, certainly Raphelos is a fine card to add back into the meta. Specifically now as a 2/1. As just a 2/1 creature, it's fairly slow. It's fairly interactable, right? A ping from Orcish Bowmaster kills it. A lot of decks playing Lightning Bolt and these various removal spells. And I don't really see how this is like stronger or faster than just like a Mana Crypt, right? So I do think giving green back a little bit of its acceleration is perfectly fine in cEDH. And again, if this allows the green decks to go faster, and so then the games end sooner, perfectly fine. So yeah, Primeval Titan, Raphelos, and Gifts Ungiven are cards that I definitely could see being off the ban list. But again, I still don't know if I'm liking this kind of unbanning that makes it different than EDH, the EDH ban list, and then we have to say, oh, we're playing EDH, but we're kind of not playing EDH. Anyways, again, I don't want to revisit that. But then the last one here, this I feel like is the easiest explanation, because there's a lot of people saying that this should come off the casual ban list. Coalition Victory, I don't really understand why it was on the ban list to begin with. I guess like people were using this at the casual level, and it was kind of obnoxious, and people didn't really like the fact that you just won the game. Again, I don't really know what the combo was with this, but anyways, Coalition Victory is 3 and then 1 of each color for a sorcery. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. So just to clarify, this does still count if you have a 5-color creature and a land that counts as all types. So you could have 1 creature, 1 land, and you would just win the game. Yeah, so it says right there. It says if a single land has multiple types, it counts, right, as all those. So that's pretty interesting. The 1 land of each type is pretty easy actually to accomplish with things like Prismatic Omen, I guess. And again, also just in cEDH, we just have the dual lands, we have the fetch lands, so it's pretty easy to acquire all those and just do that. A creature of each color, again, if you have a 5-color commander, and not just a 5-color identity, I mean a 5-color commander. Hi, Cookie. Hello, Doge. Where'd you go? So, again, I don't really see why this card was ever banned in casual. And so, again, as people might have guessed, I'm okay with this being unbanned in cEDH. I just don't know what this would do. Again, I don't understand the point of unbanning it if no one's going to play it. I really don't see this doing anything, so I don't understand why you unban this to make it more different than just normal EDH when you're not really accomplishing anything. So, again, feel free to fill me in, people, if there is something I'm missing, or if you can theorycraft Coalition Victory shenanigans. Because again, it is cool to theorycraft with these cards. But again, I just don't really see the point of unbanning some of these cards and how they help the game. Again, with the exception of some of these cards. Yeah, that's I don't want to make this video too long. That is what I just wanted to talk about here. Again, people freaking out. Again, they're saying, but please continue to be nice to people. Again, if you want to discuss this with people, join the Topdeck Discord, and there they have a whole section for discussing the ban list here. Again, I am not particularly a fan of the way in which they are attempting to implement this ban list. I will also say we have time. It will not be implemented until 2025 at the very earliest, or at least that's what it's looking like. So again, no need to panic, no need to go ballistic being like, oh my god, cEDH is ruined, or I guess the opposite of like, yay, cEDH, like whatever side you're on. But I just give me your ideas, because again, I don't think this is the way that I would like to see it implemented. That being said, I don't really also attend a lot of Topdeck events. I guess the Boil, like I went to the Boil, I went to some other cEDH events. I'm just not really doing a ton of cEDH grinding. I'm kind of more just going to my locals and having a fine time. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Are you for this? Are you against it? What do you think of the actual bans and / unbans that they did? And yeah, again, I will make sure to keep everyone up to date on this. Again, this is a ever evolving story. I wanted to make sure that I got something out to talk about it. Yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Do a bunch of cEDH content here, doing deck techs, and talking about, again, various Magic concepts. Also play Arena as well as Lorcana, if anyone is getting into Lorcana or thinking about it. I do a lot of, I'm going to be doing some gameplay videos soon, and also do a lot of analysis there. All right, guys, once again, that's going to do it for me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.